Welcome to the Open Forum in the Villages, Florida. In this show, we talk to leaders of clubs and interesting folks who live here in the Villages to get perspectives of what is happening here. We are a listener-supported podcast. There will be shout-outs for supporters in episodes.
This is Mike Roth. And listeners, I'm thrilled to share with you this podcast, which is my passion project for you. This podcast brings you knowledge, inspiration, and a lot of things that people need to know about the Villages and the people living here. Be sure to hit the follow button to get the newest episode. Creating this podcast is a labor of love, even though it demands more time I can easily spare. Now, here's where you come in. You can help us keep the podcast alive and thriving. How? By becoming a supporter. The easy way for you to support us is to visit our podcast webpage, openforuminthevillagesflorida.com, and click on the supporter button at the top of the page, or the purple supporter box. Even a small donation of $3 to $10 a month makes a big difference, and you can cancel your subscription at any time. Your support means the world to us. Stay curious, stay inspired, and keep those headphones on. I hope everyone enjoys today's show. This is Mike Roth on Open Forum in the Villages, Florida. I'm here today with Barbara Quick. Thanks for joining me, Barbara.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Today we're going to be talking a lot about eBay and how to use eBay. But before we do that, Barbara, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself? What did you do before you came to the Villages?
I moved here with my family from Michigan in 1976. I'm a nurse anesthetist. I'm retired. And in the 1980s, I had gone to an auction. And there I bought a beautiful piece of pink glass. It was a candy dish. I thought it was very attractive. And I took it home and showed it to my mother. She said, "Oh, that's depression glass." I said, "Really? What's depression glass?" I got a lesson in the Depression and how there were so many pieces of glass given away as freebies to encourage you to purchase their product. Or you went to the movies and you would get 1 week a free plate, the next week a free cup. There were poor times, and it was to encourage people to purchase their products. It was very inexpensive, but very attractive with different patterns, different names. Shortly after I had bought this piece, there was a depression glass show in Orlando. And I told my mother about it, and we went. When I saw the display, I was immediately taken by the beauty of it and how much I liked it. I just wanted to have a few pieces around. I wanted to use it. People would always say, "Wow, what is that? It's just so unusual." And that started collecting. My husband would go with me. We'd walk around antique shops. He spotted different things, but he really hadn't had any interest at all. One day, we saw an ad in the paper from a woman who was selling various things, and some of it was glassware. So we thought we'd go. We went to her house. It was like a yard sale kind of thing. She was an older woman and had a big collection of all different kinds of things. When she needed to put in a new roof or buy a new piece of furniture, she would sell some things. So that's where I saw a lot of unusual things I recognized from the show I had been at. And my husband spotted some yellow glass he had never seen before and asked her about it. She said, "That's Vaseline glass." He said, "What's that?" She said, "It glows. It has uranium. It glows under a black light or in the sun." He became very enamored. So now, every time we go on vacation, we would always find places to shop. We could stop at antique malls. He got a little black light, and his collection of Vaseline glass grew and grew. That expanded to Murano art glass. Mine expanded to more and different kinds of depression glass and elegant glass, pottery. So we just enjoyed so much the fun of it. But pretty soon what happens when you collect, you either have to slow down your collecting or you have to sell some because there isn't any room.
Out of space.
You bet.
How many years did you collect glass before you came to the Villages?
I would say probably about 30 years.
Okay.
So we started doing shows. We did about 5 shows a year, glass shows. Had a great time, lots of fun. You make a lot of friends, other people buying and selling. People would wait for you for the show, wait to see what you brought for them. But of course, you acquire a lot of glass to be able to do a show. Then my husband became ill, and he was not able to do the show. And the show would be very difficult to do alone. And of course, I couldn't leave him. So here I am at home with huge amounts of glass.
Tell our listeners how many boxes of glass you came to the villages with.
I had, as he became ill, I thought, what am I going to do? So that's when I opened an eBay store. I had always been on eBay. eBay opened in 1996, and I've been on eBay since 1997. I sold some, but as he became more ill, I couldn't do anything. After he passed away, I decided, was living in St. Cloud, Florida, which is near Orlando. I thought, where am I going to go? So I did some exploring and settled down the villages. I moved in 5.5 years ago. And when I moved in, I counted them. I had 405 banana boxes filled with glass of all type. My husband had over 400 pieces of Vaseline, over 200 pieces of Murano art glass, and I had just massive amounts of all sorts of things. So between my store, which I still have today, I still sell through my store on eBay, and I am in an antique booth. All my boxes are empty. The shelves I'm still selling. And then I just thought, I heard when I first moved here, so many people, and they would see my glass. I'd have my garage door open. I'd be working out there. People would stop and say, my goodness, there were boxes everywhere. People had a lot of interest, and I heard them say, I've got this, I have that. Boy, I wish I could sell. And I don't know how to sell on eBay. So I heard about the Enrichment Academy and started taking a few classes there, lectures. Love their lectures. And I thought maybe I could have a class. So that's what I did. I made the application to the Enrichment Academy. And just about a month ago, I finished my 22nd class of teaching people how to sell on eBay.
How many classes per Enrichment Academy semester do you do?
It varies mostly with just what I'm doing, if I have things going on with my family or if I'm traveling. But I used to do, when I first started, 4, 5, maybe 5 or 6. One year I did 6. And I thought that was too many because it's a 2-week class. It's two days per class. So
Full days?
No, 2 1.5-hour sessions, but the preparation and so on. So I thought that kind of honed down to where I did 4 per year. I believe last year I did 3, and I haven't signed up yet for this year, but I'll probably do 3 also this year.
How many students do you have in your eBay classes?
It varies. I thought I would have more during snowbird season because there's more people here.
Mhm.
But surprisingly, even in the summer, I'll have a number. Usually it's between 15 and 20, but I've had as few as 5 or 6. My largest class was 24. It's better when it's less than 15 or 16. You don't have to bring a computer. I demonstrate everything, and I like people to look at the screen so they can see what I'm doing, what I'm clicking on. And I explain each place, each toolbar, all the items, all these things. How do you get around? How do you connect? How do I do this? How do I do that? And I've had a number of people that have never been on eBay. They didn't even have an account. They had never been on the website. They'd only heard about it. And by the time we're finished, they're able to go home and pull it out and decide what they're going to sell.
When I talked to you before the show and we determined we were going to talk about eBay, you made me look at my eBay account to figure out when I signed up and started selling my first items on eBay. Turned out it was 1999.
Yeah, you're way back.
The first item I found in my father-in-law's garage after he died, it was a 1939 Buck Rogers atomic blaster.
Yes, but that type of thing has a lot of appeal.
Right, it sold for $100. The
Yep.
first day it was listed, and the guy paid another $100 to have it shipped Federal Express to New York. And I scratched my head the whole time. Gee, maybe I'm onto something. I got to find more of these atomic blasters.
I always ask my class what they plan to sell. It's very interesting because people have so many things. They moved Here, they brought the things that they really love. If you moved from another place, most people downsize before they move. They bring with them what they really love. As time goes on, you either have to downsize again and start giving things away, or you change in what you like and think, no, I decorated with this, I don't like it anymore. So a lot of people look for ways, what can I do? There's lots of reasons people collect. One of the main ones is that you collect something that reminds you of happy times. Either you were a kid, someone in your family gave you something, it brings back family ties, or something just strikes you.
I have a friend who collects cowboy memorabilia
Yeah, my
and
son-in-law
miniatures.
does too.
And he's got a whole room in his house here in the Villages dedicated to Roy Rogers hats
Yeah.
or Cassidy pistols.
Yeah, he probably played with those when he was a kid, and it was a happy time. A lot of women have doll collections that they've had for many years. One of the things that's a big seller as far as eBay is concerned is handbags, especially vintage handbags or vintage clothing of any kind. It's actually very popular. And I know I've heard so many people say, I'm not going to be able to sell this because people don't collect today. That isn't true. They do collect, but they collect differently than they did years ago. Years ago, collecting was much bigger, but remember, that was when the baby boomers were in, and that was a large number of people, the baby boom generation. And they collected thinking back to the things they remember from their grandmothers, their aunt, what things their mom gave them. Nowadays, we went through a period of minimalism where decorating and all, the more minimal everything was, the better it was. But that's changing. There's a lot of younger people that collect, but they collect a little bit differently.
What kind of things are most valuable in selling them on eBay?
There's a lot of things. If you don't know a market, you really don't know the value of something. It's supply and demand like anything else. Just because something is old does not make it valuable. It's valuable because they don't make it anymore and a number of people want it. You can have something old, but if nobody wants it, it's not of any value.
It's trash.
That's exactly right. A lot of people don't understand that. And they'll insist that they think something is worth this or worth that. And it's just not because nobody wants it. I really stress this in my class. You have to understand what you have. Is this something I should donate or is this something I could sell? I teach how to research, how to look and find what's selling and how much it brings.
What's the first step in doing that?
The very first step is that you have to have an account. And that's one thing that I like about eBay. They have other venues where you can sell items. There's Amazon Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, Etsy, all sorts of them. However, those are anonymous places. You go on, you list something, you don't really know. This is what I see a lot because I follow some of these websites, especially for glass. Somebody will have listed something, sold it, and then a few days later, the person never paid. She's got it back up for sale. There isn't any accountability using those particular sites. With eBay, every person who is on there looking at things or that buys something has an account. They've had to register, and they are a real person. You don't put your personal information in there. You use a username. You don't use your own email. But every person is accountable. If you have a person who buys your item and then never pays for it, which happens frequently on other sites, you'll do this about 3 times and eBay will remove you. So you're dealing with real people who are looking for what you're selling.
Isn't eBay still using their reputation system? Feedback.
Yes, and that's very important because they're not involved with the feedback. That's strictly between the buyer and the seller. And that's one way of keeping someone new to the site can look and see if someone has 1,000 stars and they've been on there for 10 years and they have 100% feedback. They've had all of these transactions. Everyone has been successful. No one is unhappy. So it really is a way of gauging the person and that you're going to have a successful transaction.
Let's take a short break now and listen to an Alzheimer's tip from Dr. Craig Curtis. Alzheimer's is the most feared disease in America, more than heart attacks.
It's a very feared disease because it
heart
robs
attacks
us.
and strokes kill more people.
That is true. It's the number one killer of men and women in the United States. Alzheimer's disease is also the only one of the top 10 killers of Americans that we currently don't have a way of modifying significantly. But through these prevention studies, we're hoping we can find some more answers. We're also looking at removing this amyloid before someone gets symptoms. We talked about tau and that protein, how it spreads through the brain. We currently have a research trial where we're testing a vaccine to see if we can halt the spread of tau. It's a worldwide study, and we're doing it right here in the villages. And we're really hopeful that things like this in the future can provide us some help. That study might be able to stop the progression of tau if it works.
With over 20 years of experience studying brain health, Dr. Curtis's goal is to educate the village's community on how to live a longer, healthier life. To learn more, visit his website, craigcurtismd.com, or call 352-500-5252 to attend a free seminar.
Thank you, Dr. Curtis. I'm back with Barbara Quick. Barbara, how difficult is it for someone to learn how to use eBay effectively by themselves?
eBay does offer courses. eBay used to be much more difficult.
I remember.
You remember. It was.
I remember spending an hour to list one item.
Absolutely. It was very difficult. But through the years, they have made it more user-friendly. They have sessions where you can sign up and look. But it's always easier if you see someone do it and explain it to you. In the class that I teach through the Enrichment Academy, I pull up the website. We start with how to open an account if you don't have one. The first thing I teach is research. You have to know what you have before you try to sell it, because it could be much more valuable than you think. In your research, you'll find that there's 25 of them on there, and the most anyone is asking is $10. You may not want to spend your time with that item, even though you like it. You may want to donate it or just give it to someone. But believe me, there's been a number of times that I've been stunned at the value of something.
What was the most stunning valuation that you had on an eBay item?
I've had a couple. One happened about 4 or 5 months ago. I had bought this probably 10 years ago. A woman who did shows had passed away, and her husband was left with massive numbers of glass. He got bugged and hounded by lots of people wanting to buy from him immediately. He just wasn't ready. His wife had died suddenly. I had chatted with him at a show when he was just starting to come out again. I gave him my card and said, I know you're not ready, but when you are, if you want to sell your glass, just call me. And that was it. I didn't call him again. One day he called out of the blue and said, I want to sell this. Okay. So we bought 105 boxes. We bought that collection, and I never even went through them. There were a few boxes. I knew what was in them. I sold that. The rest of it, I didn't. So 3 or 4 months ago, I'm opening one of her boxes.
How did you get all those 105 boxes back to your house?
We took a trailer, and his son loaded them for us in the trailer, and then a neighbor came over and helped my husband to unload them. She had a great eye, and she collected different than me, so I ended up with a lot of different things. Here about 4 or 5 months ago, I'm emptying boxes, and I come across a tumbler. The way it was, a glass, decorated, it had stripes around the bottom and horizontal stripes around the bottom. And I thought, wow, it's a 1950s tumbler. I knew that right away. There were 9. Maybe I could make 2 sets of 4, take them to my antique booth, maybe put $30 on them. They were really nice. But something about them, the colors, I thought, I don't know, I've just never seen, they just look different. So I started my research, could find nothing. I belong to a website called WorthPoint. It's not free. You have to pay for it. It's a great site because it lists every single thing that has sold online, including auctions, eBay, anywhere, not Facebook, but any other sites. Every single thing that's sold since 2007. It's a big site.
What does that cost you a year?
It's $23 a month.
Wow. Okay, so it's expensive.
especially if you only have a few items to sell. But with the amount I had to sell, believe me, it is well worth.
So you
Oh,
tried
I
to find this glass.
tried to find this glass, and I kept looking. Of course, you put in the search 1950s tumbler mini
Hundreds.
page. So I'm just sitting there seeing go through, and lo and behold, after probably an hour, I saw the glass. I thought, oh my gosh, it turns out it was a depression glass made by Macbeth Evans in the kettleware pattern. I did not even know kettleware made tumblers. And it said that very rare. There were, I believe, 2 of them, and they sold for over $100. I thought, whoa, okay. That certainly changes things.
You're going to upset the market trying to sell 9. What's
So
the price down?
I ended up listing 4 of them, and I put $325 on 4 of them. Within 2 hours, I had an offer of $275. Sold them right away. Got a hold of the man and said, I have 4 more. If you are interested, I'll list them for you. Oh, absolutely. Immediately bought them for $275. So now there's $500 and some dollars. And I still have 1. I listed that by itself and sold for $50. So this is something I would have without research put in my antique booth. Somebody probably, when it was on sale, would have bought it for $25. And I got over $500, almost $600.
I teach how to do real research. I use Google Lens. With Google Lens, you take a photo of something and tell Google to find similar items on the web.
Yes, and it's very good. Sometimes you won't find something. It didn't work for those tumblers, but sometimes you will find things. It's really important. Someone told me a long time ago, you should never sell anything until you know what it is and how much it's worth. You can't assume just because it's old, it may not be worth it. We go through that. And then all of the other things about maintaining eBay. How do I do a refund? What about packaging? What about shipping? What about all of the things? So the 2 classes, on the second class, I actually bring an item in. And after having gone through the basics, the first class, we go through step by step. We actually list something. I don't physically list it, but we go through everything just like we're listing. And then how to deal with everything that happens with the listing.
What I like on eBay today is if you're selling an item that's relatively current and you have the original packaging with the UPC, you can look that up and eBay will put the description of it and may even have some pictures of the item generic to make it easier to list.
However, I would warn that if you have anything older, pre-UPC, antiques or collectibles of any kind, never use canned pictures.
Got to take.
People hate them. They want to see the real item. In a new item, it doesn't make any difference because it's all going to be the same. But with an old item, they want to actually see. We go through a whole thing about photography, how to take the best pictures, just all of that. I did try doing an advanced course once. I think I did it 2 times for people who wanted to open a store or eBay Motors, because I've sold motorcycle, a couple of cars, a car haul. After my husband passed away, he had all of these toys, and I did that through eBay Motors, and that's really a very successful venue to use. But I don't think there was enough interest, and I didn't enjoy doing the class as much, so I haven't done the advanced one again. I just did that for a couple times.
One of the things I discovered early in working with eBay was I took a lot of pictures of the item as it actually was.
Right.
From all sides. They sold more quickly.
Oh, absolutely. Now they have an option where you can attach a video. And I think that's very good. Say you have an antique fishing reel, you can show turning the reel. You can show how smooth it works. If you have a tool of some kind, you can plug it in and turn it on. Or if it's mechanical, you can show it working. There's lots of different things. And eBay has improved so much. And I do have to say this, in all honesty, I've been on eBay since 1996, and not once ever have I had any issue that was unresolved, or that the money wasn't right, or that there was anything that created a problem.
I have a friend in Cincinnati who would buy failed LED monitors from the federal government for $5 or $10 a piece. He was an electronics technician, and he knew that these monitors failed because a couple of 5-cent capacitors failed. He would disassemble the monitor, find the swelled up capacitors, replace them, and sell them on eBay for $75 a piece.
Not a bad deal.
Hey, it was a nice living.
Right. Now, one of the things that I've had a couple people in the class that do have a hobby, a money-making side job hobby, whatever you want to call it. And I know two in particular that really do very well. They laugh because people will say that you can never find anything at a garage sale. It's all junk. There's a lot of stuff that might not be that great. But believe me, there's still things out there that are valuable. The secret is that you recognize it. So you have to do.
What's the last thing that you bought at the garage sale here in the Villages?
When I moved to the Villages, I took a vow to myself. You cannot downsize if you continue to buy. And I have bought not one thing since I moved to the Villages.
So you moved in with over 200 boxes.
405.
How many boxes are you down to?
The boxes are empty. They're all empty, but I still have a lot of things on shelves. I'm guessing within 2 years, I'll be done. I used to volunteer at the thrift shop that benefits the hospital, ye old thrift shop. There's a man who came in I knew very well. He was a garage sailor. He would tell me about the craziest stuff he bought, really valuable. One of the ones that really impressed me was he was all excited. He came in and he said, "You won't believe what I bought." He was just walking around. It didn't look too interesting. And we spotted some boxes in the back. They were Buddy L trucks. I don't know if Buddy L, but Buddy L was a type of truck. The dump trucks, the big trucks, the cranes. Buddy L was kind of sturdy, so they were good for kids, but they are very collectible. He bought 9 of them for $50. He was really excited. 3 were still in the original box.
Oh, the original box makes a toy.
Original box. He took those home. The very first one he sold, he got $90 for.
Wow.
Just one. And he bought 9 of them.
Wow.
So he was really excited. And he would find all kinds of stuff, a very big variety of different things. And he did that as a little side thing. It was just something that was fun.
So if someone wants to contact you or take your course on how to sell on eBay, how do they do that?
Just through the Enrichment Academy. They have it online, districtgov.org, and then you look at the Enrichment Academy. Also, if you go to any of the rec centers, they have their catalog. I have taken many lectures here and other courses. They're very interesting, and they have such a variety. There's always something there for everybody. I'm in there under the technology, and my classes will be listed. I'm not teaching this summer because my daughter is taking me on a really nice vacation, and I just got back from Phoenix. This summer I'm not teaching, but I will be teaching again in the fall. But yeah, they have all of the classes and the catalogs in the rec centers, and you can pick them up there or online.
I'm teaching 2 courses, one in May on podcasting, and then I'm teaching the AI course again in September. That may be the last time I teach that course because it's too extensive.
It's getting extensive now, and it's changing so much all the time.
I'd probably have to teach that course over 5 weeks if I was trying to cover a minimal piece of ground. We're teaching it over 2 weeks now. It's a hands-on course, not for everyone. But if you have some computer skills and you want to learn about how to use AIs for yourself, it's valuable. Again, Barbara, thanks for being on the show with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope that your listeners have too.
Remember, our next episode will be released next Friday at 9 a.m. Should you want to become a major supporter of the show or have questions, please contact us at mike@rothvoice.com. This is a shout-out for supporters. Tweek Coleman, Ed Williams, Dwayne Romich, Paul Sorgen, and Dr. Craig Curtis at K2 in the Villages. We will be hearing more from Dr. Curtis with short Alzheimer's tips each week. If you know someone who should be on the show, contact us at mike@rothvoice.com. The way our show grows is with your help. Text your friends about this show if you enjoyed listening, or just tell your friends about the show. We thank everyone for listening to the show. The content of the show is copyrighted by Roth Voice 2025. All rights reserved.